because what came through for me was that, um, you know, we've been discussing in the last few weeks, and some of you are on that haven't been on in the last few weeks about a lot of things in relation that have to do with this topic. And at the end of the day, this topic, which came up as, what does it really mean to be in the present moment? We've all heard about this, right? We know that we're supposed to be in the present moment, and Eckhart Tolle probably made it the most famous with his two books, A New Earth and The Power of Now, really, which is what strikes a chord with this present moment concept, right? What is it to be in the present moment? And I've talked a lot in the last few weeks about what it means to worry, right? Like we worry. And one of the best talks we've had, I think, was regarding this topic of what we do to ourselves with our thoughts in regards to time, right? Because time, as we know, is relative. It's sometimes it seems like time flies by. Sometimes it seems like time stands still. But time is actually one of our most precious experiences here on this earth, on this plane, okay, in this 3D reality, this beautiful illusion that we create for ourselves, right? To experience what it feels like to be in a state of time. Because when we're not in this physical form, there is no such thing. We are in a state of, I don't want to say limbo, but we are in a state that is not represented by this clock that we live by, correct? So time, we have all these words. Hi, Lily. Oh, it's so beautiful. I got a full screen of everybody. So it's really interesting to think about time. And for me personally, time has always been a very sensitive subject because like I posted on the chat, which we were going to talk about today, for a very long time, felt like I was running out of time. Like I always had this sense of impatience, right? That was my favorite negative emotion, right? Let's talk about it that way. My favorite go-to was impatience, okay? Which leads to frustration, which leads to worry. All of them a spiraling downturn of negative emotions that doesn't serve me at all, right? And I've said on this talk that the reason that I felt that I was running out of time was because of a prophetic dream that I had as a child, that made me feel that I wasn't going to live beyond a certain time, that I was going to pass on at 50, right? And that as I reached that age, I started having my awakening, which is what I feel all of you have already either gone through or are in the process of going through, because you wouldn't be connected to me on this call if you weren't in an awakened state of being. It just doesn't work that way. Okay. You guys and me, we resonate. There's a reason you're here. Okay. And time does feel to us like it's going faster. And we talked about this last week with, was it last week? The week before last, about Schumann resonance and this feeling that we all feel at this moment, I think, like we're a snowball going down a hill, right? It feels like there's a momentum of speed that is beyond our control. I mean, the years are like flying by, right? COVID actually was the only thing that caused this strange pause, right? Do you all get that? You all feel that COVID had a strong purpose, okay? A strong purpose of allowing us to take a moment of stillness in order to push forward this awakening movement. Okay. And when we were in that state of COVID, right? Didn't it feel like all of a sudden time stood still? Like time like slowed down. And all we could think about was, when is this going to be over? Right? Isn't this funny? Like we were given an opportunity to take a moment to stop. And yet all we wanted was to get our lives back in order and moving forward. Right? So we're always in this state of predicament of, are we still, are we forward, are we back? And that's what it is. That is what the present moment allows us. Okay. Being in the present moment allows us to take a breath and be in the state of presence with ourselves. Okay. Because firstly, you cannot be in any other state than in the now. Can you be other than in the now? Is it possible to live yesterday? No. Is it possible to live tomorrow? No. You can do it in your mind, which we do all the time, but we don't have the ability to do that. I mean, right now, we're still not in a state where we can time travel. We can't go forward to tomorrow. We can't really feel what that's going to be like. And we can't go backwards and redo what we did, as much as we would like to. So really, there is no other state than the present moment, than in the now. But how many times have you found yourself in your car, right? And you're driving, and you know you're going somewhere, but you know you've been there before, so you know where it is. And you get there and you didn't even realize what happened between now, when you left your house, and when you got there. Like your mind was completely somewhere else. Everything happened in autopilot, right? That is what happens to us on a daily basis. So how do we stay in the present moment where it's all now? How do we do that? Okay. We do that through a few techniques that we all know, but we forget to use. And one of them is our breath. Okay. So there's so many times in my office where I sense the anxiety in my staff. I sense everyone's going like, starting to build this energy of like anxiety because we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. We're not going to finish. We're not going to do this. We're not going to be able to send out the email. We're not going to be able to answer that question. We're not going to be able to meet with each other. We're not going to be able. And then I say, okay, hold on a second. Let's take a breath. Let's take a breath. Let's take a breath. Okay. And it allows us to create that still place that we can be in the present moment. Okay. Because the past is done. The past is done. And the future isn't here yet. And if we find our thoughts living in that future, okay, which we do all the time, it creates that state of worry, which, when I mentioned this, was denying your trust and faith in God. And that's what I got comments about that blew people away, because no one had ever thought of it that way. You know, to think that when you are in a state of not being present, not in the now, you are in a state of denying your faith and trust that everything is working out for you. Okay. In fact, this is one of the big, this is something, as I dived into this topic, that I was really thinking about, because I make a point to try and not complain, right? Because I find complaining very draining. How many of you know someone, or maybe you find yourself in a state of complaining? Okay. All right. We all do it. I mean, everybody does. Okay. Everybody complains, but I'm very conscious of when I complain. Okay. You know why? Because complaining denies the present moment. When you complain, you are not satisfied with your now. And that is a state of resistance, best explained by Abraham Hicks. Okay? When you complain, you create a state of resistance with your now moment, which is in perfect condition. And like Abraham Hicks teaches, you stray away from the vortex of your beautiful manifestations because you are in a state of separation from God and your higher self. Does that make sense to all of you? Okay. This is really important to understand and very tricky because we all want to manifest our dreams. We are always launching our rockets of desire, right? This is our natural state where nothing is ever enough. Is anything ever enough for you? Like everything you have, do you want nothing else? I mean, do you not dream about something tomorrow? It's impossible. We want, right? That's it. We want. That is part of our process. And how do we know what to want? How do we know what to want? By contrast. We only know what we want because we've gotten what we don't want. So now we get to strive for what we want. But when we either complain or not accept and not surrender to the present moment and accept it as it is, we suffer. That is what causes our state of suffering. And what causes our state of suffering is when we fall under the illusion that we are separate from our source, that we are separate from our God, that we are separate from that state of love and beauty and acceptance and surrender that is God. And that's when we suffer, right? So by being in the present moment, by bringing ourselves back to the stillness of the now, we release that suffering. And then how do we do that? We focus. We focus on everything that we have already. Okay? And how we start with our breath, and we start going into a rampage of gratitude. When we go into a rampage of gratitude, we allow ourselves to recognize that everything is fine. Everything is fine, and everything is working out as it should. Whether we understand it, whether we like the way it feels within us or not. So now is where you meet you. Now is where you meet you. And we have to practice this just like we practice all of our other practices. Because it's not easy. It isn't. I know. I lived in that state like more than half of my life, really. You know, I consider myself to be midway between like starting the next half of my life, you know, if time is anything. And all I do is remind myself that everything is as it should be right now. Everything is as it should be right now. And one of my favorite sayings, because this is what I want you guys to think about, is what words are you expressing daily that don't allow you to be in this state of presence? Okay. Complaining is one of them. Okay. Whenever you complain about something. So this week, I want you to have a complaining journal. Okay. This week, we're going to do this practice. Every time you hear someone complain, I want you to make a note of it. And every time you find yourself complaining, I want you to make a note of it. Okay? Is that agreement? Say yes, say aye. Okay? Why? Because I want you to get to a place where you recognize when you are not present with yourself. When you are out of faith, when you are out of trust. If you complained, you got out. You're off the wagon. Okay? So think that every time, and there's some people that are chronic complainers, by the way. Oh my God. Chronic. I know them, and it's like exhausting. By the time, if you spend a little time with someone that complains every second of the day, you will be, by the time you get home, you need to like juice up with something, because you can't, you just can't. It is a draining energy. Okay. Because we know that our thoughts create things, right? We know that our words are our wand. And whenever we use that energy, we reinforce it, because what we pay attention to, what we focus on, expands. Okay? This is the most important lesson that I can teach you. What you focus on expands. Think of a balloon, right? When you put a balloon, an empty balloon, to your mouth and you start blowing, think about every time you complain or think about something that is not healthy for you, not energetically pleasing, you expand that balloon. Okay? And unfortunately, you expand that balloon in a negative energy. Okay? So what you focus on, you expand. So this is what I want you to think about in order to become more attuned to the present moment. So that's when we start pulling in our practices. Okay, meditation, of course. I mean, I can't say enough about meditation. Meditation. If anybody tells me, how do I get well? A meditation. What's the prescription? Meditation. Meditation is the key to getting in the present moment. Okay. And the reason, the harder it is for you to get in a state of meditation, the more you are in a state of not being present. Does that make sense? So if you are able to get into a state of meditation, then you have overcome this process of our brain working in the past and working in the future. Okay. And I like also to listen to the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza, because Dr. Joe Dispenza, I love the way he says that, you know, we are such habitual creatures. You know, we wake up in the morning, we do the same thing. Like we get up in the same way. We probably, when we shower, sometimes I catch myself, right, soaping the sponge and starting in the same spot. Okay, no, I'm going to do it this way this time, you know, because when we are habitual, we reinforce the same thing over and over again. So guess what happens to our brain? We're not thinking, we're unconscious. And this is where we get into trouble, because now we're not even present to the smell of the soap and how nice it feels on our body, right? Such a simple thing to be grateful for, right? Imagine when people couldn't turn on the shower and get water nice and warm, perfectly, you know, mixed to the temperature that we like to our body, and the smell of a delicious soap. Think about how many beautiful things there are to do just by taking a shower. How much gratitude can you muster up taking a shower? Right? And yet, how often do you take a shower and do it so unconsciously that it just went, that was it, gone, right? So promise me that when you guys take a shower today, tomorrow, whenever you do, because I know you're going to do it today or tomorrow, whenever, take a moment to be present with it. Feel the water on your body. Smell the soap, the texture of the sponge, your skin. Feel every moment in that present state and bless it, because that will help you to learn how to focus on the present moment. Okay? So, like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, he says that we do things the same way over and over again. We get up in the morning, we grab our phone. Before you know it, you're in Facebook, Instagram, emails, how many texts, and all of a sudden, all the thoughts that you had yesterday, okay, are coming in and flooding your today. Okay, and that would be great if all of those thoughts were wonderful, useful thoughts that would serve you. But unfortunately, that is not the case. How many times have you guys not picked up your phone, grabbed a text or an email that was yesterday's, that annoyed you, and now all of a sudden you're in that annoyed state again? Right? Isn't that like a daily practice? What kind of shit is that? It's horrible. But you did it to yourself, right? You did it to yourself. So practicing being in the present moment allows you to release that, and also practicing a non-habitual act, something that you don't normally do. Take a different route going to the office. Okay? Walk around the block in another way. Do something out of your routine so that you can experience what that present moment brings to you. I know that for me, I have really, I really am in a state of awakening. Like I take moments. Sometimes I'll get caught up and I'm going down the route that I shouldn't. But I can tell you that I really practice this a lot. And lately, I can tell you that with my granddaughters in my house, it really allows me to be in the present moment, because I recognize that one of the things that I didn't do while my children were growing up was be in the present moment of them. I was so in my head that I can't even remember little things that I'm sure I did, like I do now with my granddaughters. When I go to change their diapers, I'm really in the present moment. Like I'm amazed at how cute they are, how soft their skin is, how cool it is to use that A&D ointment, you know, like that little, I'm sure I did that with my daughter. I'm positive, but I don't remember at all, you know, and yet today I do. Today I can tell you that I relish in it. And these are the things that I focus on, because I don't want to be unconscious anymore. I am never going back to that state of unconsciousness. I don't want to be asleep with my life. I don't want to sleepwalk through my life. I want to be fully awake, fully present in the now. And I try to do that with everybody that enters my life as well. Because I know, how many times have you found yourself like you're listening to somebody tell you a story and you like drift off? And then you're like, oh, what did you say? Come back, right? Being present with that person, you know, expressing that quality time that so many of us have in our love language, you know, that is important. It's really important. And also being present with yourself. Like I said, okay, now is where you meet you. Remember that. Now is where you meet you. The you, the real you, the one's inside. The one that's inside of you, screaming to be recognized. And actually, the one that is the most intuitive, the one that is the most connected, the one that is trying to tell you, don't go there, don't, that's not good for you, okay? And you don't listen, you go anyway, and you get into trouble, okay? And you got to find your way back. That you is the now you. That you is the only you that exists. The tomorrow you doesn't exist. You know, when we were in Disney World and we're going Tomorrowland, that doesn't exist. Okay? It doesn't. Not yet. But like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the you of today is building the you of tomorrow. Okay? Because what you think about and reinforce and focus on today builds tomorrow. You understand that? We know this to be true. We know that our thoughts create things, and it takes a little time in this 3D world to manifest them. Okay? But if we want to manifest something that is positive for our future, we have to be in the positive present today. The positive present today, not the negative present, okay? Because the negative present produces a negative future, okay? The negative, remember that? The negative present, if we decide that today, this moment, I choose to be impatient, frustrated, worry, complaining, angry, resentful, guilty. If we choose that, guess what? The universe is going to say, you like that? Let me give you some more. Throws it at you. Okay? So we have to stop being unconscious. It's our responsibility to be conscious. It's our responsibility to be in a state of consciousness. Okay? And the faster we get there, the less we suffer. Because suffering is not something that is, it's our own creation, is what I'm trying to say. Suffering is of our own creation. But you don't suffer if you are in the present now. I know it sounds weird. It sounds a little strange. It's hard to control, but it is the truth. Okay? So what are we going to do this week? We're going to watch our complaining. Okay? Not only ourselves, but others. We're going to observe complaining like a science project. Okay? This is going to be a big experiment. Next week, I want to hear how many complaints did you hear or did you speak? I want you to be really, really conscious of this. Okay. And of course, without negative judgment of yourselves, because if you start going like, oh shit, I did it again, this is a complaint, that's not positive. Okay. I just want you to be in a state of observance. Okay. Just in a state of observance of when this occurs. Okay. Because that's how you know how I started counteracting myself? This is my go-to, okay? Because I started becoming aware of what I would say that would express how I felt about this. And I'll tell you what was mine, okay? I remember, you know, maybe 10 decades ago, almost 3, 4, 5 times a day, I would say, or people would ask me, how's your day? How's everything going? Oh my God, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And it was always like that, like, oh my God, I don't have enough time. The day's almost gone. I can't get enough. I didn't make that call. I just, This is so crazy. My life is crazy. I would say that over and over and over again, right? Do you remember that, Mom? I can tell you that that was my mantra. That was literally my mantra. And mantras, by the way, are used as a useful tool for the present moment. Mantras are great. I don't particularly use mantras for my own meditation. I don't need them. I feel better just in my silence. But mantras, if that helps you, if that's good for you, that's excellent. That's why they exist. They keep you in the present moment, just like your breath. But for me, that word was my go-to. Okay. And I also would say, I don't have enough time. How many of you say that? Go ahead, confess. Okay. Yeah, right. Don't say that. This is what you're going to convert that to. You're going to say, I have all the time for everything I need and everything I want. I have all the time in the world for everything I need and everything I want. Okay? That's your new mantra. Whenever you catch yourself saying, I don't have enough time, I want you to reverse that and say, I have all the time I need. All the time. Okay? That's your new mantra. Because that will relieve the impatience. And you know what I discovered? This is another thing. How many times have you been in your car and you're on your way to an appointment, but you know the GPS is saying, oh shit, because now we have all these tools, right? Before we didn't have tools. We had maybe an opportunity that we knew that we were going to be late, but we were kind of in the illusion that we're not going to be late. But now the GPS is telling us we're going to be late, right? So now what I say when I see that GPS and I know that I'm late, I'm saying, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not late yet. That's my favorite. Try that one. I love it. I'm not late yet. I'm not late yet. I am not late yet. Because right now, this moment, this very second that I'm breathing, I'm not late yet. Okay? And that makes me calm down. And that is amazing. It's like a miracle worker. Because guess what? Sometimes, how many times has that happened that all of a sudden?
And you could beat the GPS. I could beat that GPS.
Yes, we can. Exactly. Time can change. I can be in control because sometimes it'll say like, oh, you're arriving 2:45. And then all of a sudden, oh no, it's 2:42.
Or everybody else will be later than me.
I love that one, Lourdes. That's perfect. Everyone else is going to be later than me, especially in Miami. This is true. So, these little tricks, and just to trick your mind into calming down, because we are in I witness so many people in a state of anxiety these days. So many people. And it's one of those things that really hurts my heart.
Remember what they're saying that I gave you, like not last week, the week before. Yesterday is a canceled check.
Yes.
Tomorrow is a promissory note. Today is cash. Spend it wisely.
So this week, be in the present moment, guys. Okay, don't allow yourself to wallow in complaining, in worry, because you are creating 90% of your own suffering. Okay. So many times we worry about something, just like time, just like I told you, I'm not late yet. Okay. Worry is like that too. You may be expending, because I want you to think about the cash. Let me think about this. Okay. You're spending your energetic cash. Okay. Everything is energy. Everything is vibrational. So when you spend your energy on complaining or worry, you are expending, you're literally throwing away your energetic cash. Okay? You're spending it. Why spend it on things that are not going to be productive for you? That are not going to give you the results of love, joy, and good feeling that you want. You want to spend your energy creating, investing in joy. Okay? Don't invest in negative thoughts. Invest in positive thoughts. Okay? And you will receive, because we reap what we sow, you will receive in return a fruitful bounty of positivity in your life. And you will see your reality transform right before your eyes. You are fully responsible for everything that is created around you. You are a fully awakened, you are not sleepwalking, you remember who you are a conscious person walking this earth, manifesting what you think about. We know this. So spend your energetic cash wisely. I hope that you'll stay in the present moment this week. I hope that you'll do your meditations and your practices. I hope that you can take those mantras that I taught you today, those silly ones, but they're not so silly. Okay. I'm not late yet. Okay. I'm not late yet. Time is my friend. All is well in my world, just like Louise Hay. Okay, that's her best one. All is well. All is well. All is well. That'll keep you in that present state of now. And by the way, if you want to read a great book, The Power of Now is amazing. Okay. And find your stillness and focus on what it is that you want in positivity. Okay. Worst case scenario, take 3 deep breaths. 3, not 1, not 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, guys.